Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the channel. We have got some interesting things happening today. So we've been able to finish the lease block, we've finished my little block, and we're here for a neighbour contracting. And the other header's been going fine, header number 2. Now header number 1 had some big issues yesterday afternoon. It's not driving, it's just a no-go-go. And fiddled around with a couple of things, but there's a few more tests we've got to make and try to, just try to suss out what's going on here. We are hoping desperately that it's not a hydro issue. We're actually hoping it's probably a bit of an electrical issue, whether it's a wire or something. But we did send, just before this start of this season, we sent the hydrostat pump and the hydrostat motor. Both of them went away to get serviced, and new hoses and all of that. So we'd be very disappointed if it was that, if there's an issue there. But that's just life if it is. But probably the most frustrating breakdowns are the ones where you preemptively try to prevent them and they happen anyway. That's probably the ones that get you the most frustrated. Well guys, we had the technician out from the local dealer just to have a bit of a quick look, and it looks a little bit like we've got transmission issues. We're going to tow the header to the main farm where we're probably about we'd be 12, maybe 12 k's away, something like that, maybe 15 k's away, and we'll just tow it up to the main farm. That way we've got forklifts, we've got all the tools, and we can do it then. We can do it properly, rip the gearbox out again, and hopefully we can source whatever part we need and go from there. Righto, well, you might be able to just see in the mirror, we're hooked up and we're going to be towed backwards down to where all the other gear is, and then we'll take the front off and tow her up all the way to the main farm. So we got the front on the deck and disconnected. Didn't put it on the comb trailer because it's just a bit tricky to line it all up, but once it's going again we can just come scoop this up and throw it on the comb trailer. But at the minute this is the quickest option, so I'm just going to get towed back a little bit, so yep, we can go forward. Hopefully that makes towing a bit easier. So we don't really have a choice what we're doing here, but we're just going to take it easy. Well, we're back down here with header number 2, where we're contracting. Just done some, I wouldn't say catastrophic damage, but it's not looking good here either. What happened was the sight glass on one of the rotor gearboxes has given way or cracked and let the oil out. I'll climb up here. Bear with me. So you've got, with these New Hollands, obviously they're a twin rotor. So you've got a gearbox here and a gearbox there, and that's the part of the gearbox too, and that's the drive pulley, which obviously drives this gearbox. Then you've got a shaft that goes straight through to drive this gearbox, and then you've got your big cog in there which goes through to your rotor, which is there, and then the other one's down there. So yeah, the sight glass here failed. It's been pulled out obviously to either repair or just seal it up, so we obviously, if we can get it going, it's not a problem again. But we've actually just pulled the bearing out of there which had failed, and we're just trying to get the inner race out from there. So we've got some pullers coming down, we're going to have to modify things, try to pull that off. The other bearings here look okay. Now, it's not ideal to be doing this. Ideally it would be great to get a new gearbox for here, because it's just a matter of time. We don't know what bits of metal have gone through to the different bearings and maybe about to fail, but it does seem that the other bearings are good enough to potentially just replace this failed one. It wasn't being run for too long, I like it, but anyway, that's where we're at with this. So we may be able to get it going tomorrow, but if we do have to wait for a new gearbox, it's too late to order something overnight now, so we could be down a couple of days with this. So yeah, it's one of those things that just happens. It's not really lack of maintenance. We obviously replaced all the gearbox oils in this before this season started. We're only 100 or so hours in, and yeah, something like that happens and you don't pick it up straight away, and it doesn't take long before it's a pretty bad problem. That's just where we're at with that. So that's just pending. We're just down 2 headers at the minute. Can't get the job done that we need to get done, but also recognise that there's not a lot we can do about it, so we're just doing our best. But you know, we're just thankful that we've been able to get some crop off with them. It won't be too long, hopefully, before they're back and running. We're just still thinking of the fellas suffering with the floods that still can't get their machines in the paddock to harvest, so they're in a much worse position than we are. So we've got to keep smiling here. Well, good morning, guys. We are here at the main farm with header number 1, and it is, we have made a little bit of progress as to diagnosing what the problem is. Bad news for us is it's not the gearbox. Well, it's actually kind of good and bad, because that's the gearbox that we rebuilt, and that's fine. That's nothing wrong with that. On the other hand, we've found that the actual issue is the hydrostat motor, and it's one of those situations, I think, if you don't laugh, you're going to cry. We sent this motor and pump away, so the whole system's been redone and rebuilt, because we were noticing it was just a bit sluggish last year, and we just wanted to get on top of it, make sure it didn't cause any problems this year. So what's happened is there's a clunking noise coming from the motor, and when we were diagnosing it, it was giving symptoms that it was a broken shaft or something in the gearbox, but it's just a bit difficult to run this when it's disconnected. And yeah, anyway, there's a long story there, but basically what's happened is there's little fine bits of metal and material that has gone through the hydraulic system, and if anyone's dealt with hydraulic systems before, this is a very bad problem. So it's basically contaminated the whole hydraulic system, and if you can notice, there's a lot of hydraulic bits. So everything from the back, or just hydraulic motors that are in different spots. There's I think it uses the same oil, I think, to pressurize different clutch packs, and for your steering, all of this stuff, auger in and out. So we've contacted the company that rebuilt the pump and motor, and we're just waiting to hear back from them as to what we do from here. We're not here to name and shame. We're not into that. We understand the struggles sometimes, but we don't want to blame people for this or that. We want to get this going. That's the bottom line. The other header, we're still trying to get that bearing out that's crook. We've got new ones to go in. We know full well that the other bearings, although they look all right, we're not intending on running it like this for a long time. We're just trying to get through harvest, and we may organise a second rotor gearbox to have on standby, or something like that. We don't know fully, but basically what's happening is we don't have any of our own crop to harvest just for a week or so. It's not really ready, apart from maybe the rest of that linseed. But I guess you feel pressure and a bit of stress because there's other people relying on us. So we've organised to harvest other people's crops. So when we are broken down, with both headers are broken down, which doesn't happen very often, obviously there's no harvesting happening. And that is, as everyone knows, that's a farmer's payday. Well, we've made contact with the workshop. It's about a 4-hour drive away, who did the motor and the pump up, and yeah, we're just going to have to whip them both off, and so when we get it up there, one of us might have to drive it. We don't know yet, but we'll whip it out and see how we go.
Oh, that's coming. That's coming.
Just stay clear. All right. Up. All right, back. No. Yes, we don't need to fix it if I drop it.
Right, so we've got the pump off there. Johnny's just bunging up the bungs. What do you call it? Plugging up the bungs.
Plugging it up.
The motor is out here somewhere. It's there. So we're just going to strap it all down on this little pallet here, and yeah, just wrap it all up so we can just take off when we need to. So yeah, this header will be down another day at the very, very least. So, but in good news, I think the other header is getting put back together. That's not too bad. I couldn't hear any bad noises, so we'll give it a try. Something we probably will look at doing very soon is getting a watchdog system put on those rotor gearboxes that'll tell us if they're overheating or whatever, so that might save this a problem getting worse. We'll fill her up and get going. Oh, that's a lovely sight. We're halfway there. One of them's going again. So we just got to shift a heap of gear, and then I think we're just going to have to wait and hear what news we find with the hydro motor. So yeah, it'll be interesting to find out what's going on there. Well, we've got a rough plan of what's going to happen. Johnny and Brad are on duty for a little bit longer. Johnny's going to go on the chaser bin, and Brad's on the header, and then maybe in an hour or two Phil and I'll take over, and yeah, it's a bit, we're going back to the days where we're only running one header at the minute, so we've got plenty of people to do the jobs, but it's nice to be that way and not have not enough people. And yeah, we've still got a bit of work that needs to be done to prepare for getting the other header going, so we that's the rough plan, at least anyway. Well guys, it's about 11 o'clock at night. We've been at it for about, well, Phil and I have been at it here for about 3 hours now. Because it is later at night, the wind's died down a lot, so the dust isn't really clearing very well. Just got to focus for a bit here while we get lined up. So we're doing about nearly 8 k's, which is pretty good for this time of night. Once the straw's all toughening up a bit with the cooler weather and the bit of moisture in the air, and it's yeah, still making pretty good speed, getting the tons off, which is the goal, I guess. Well, another sunny morning. Phil and I went till about a little bit after 1 o'clock last night, and yeah, it was still going pretty well. So yeah, Brad and Johnny came back out this morning and got going, and it's going even better now. So we're able to go, I think it's up to about sort of 14, 15, 16 kilometers an hour while harvesting. So the tons are coming off pretty quick, even just with one header. So that's very nice to see. It's actually pretty tricky the faster you go with being on the chaser bin, because a tiny adjustment in speed on the header, you've got to almost anticipate it and react. Particularly with a small chaser bin like this one, it's not very long, so there's not a lot of room for error. Doing about 12 or 13 k's at the minute. It's just a little bit bumpy, but up here a bit further, I think yeah, it gets a bit smoother, so it can go a bit quicker. So how we were brought up when we were operating chaser bins is you make it so the header driver doesn't have to really pay attention. So it's the chaser bin driver's responsibility to make sure he follows the speed of the header. The header driver's obviously aware of what's going on, but the header driver's got enough to deal with and look at, making sure not swallowing sticks or anything like that. Makes the chaser binning a little bit more there's a bit more drama to add to the video that is turning into a, I don't know what it's turning into, but it's got us all on the edge of our seats. But apparently the grader has cracked the plastic header tank on the radiator, and there isn't one in the country, so that limits our options rather substantially with that. So we're still just trying to work out that. It's the kind of thing that you might be able to get going and repair, but also there's a lot at stake if it's wrong. So if we end up accidentally cooking a motor or something, yeah, it wouldn't be worth it. But the other news, which is interesting, is the hydrostat motor on header number 1 dropped a piston, so it is kaput, and which we suspected that it was very much not good. So yeah, that's about $9,000 for a new one of them. So we've got that coming. It should be maybe a day or two, hopefully. Thankfully there is one of them in the country. Everything's going to work out. It's just a bit of fun in the meantime.